This podcast episode is sponsored by Palumbo and Bertrand, attorneys at law.
Good day, seniors and active adults. Welcome back to our YouTube podcast, Get Your Weekly Slice, where we protect, inform, and educate you, our seniors and active adults, every week about what you should know as you age. It is about keeping you, our seniors, in the know. Let's begin. A senior's biggest fears as they age, part 1. This is going to be a discussion that needs to take place with seniors and active adults. And it is what I advocate and I promote for them to be proactive as opposed to reactive. And this is going to be a 4-part series. And I'm going to take 5 fears in each series, with the exception of the third part is going to be a little bit more than that, but short versed. So let me begin by the number 1 is losing their independence. Physical and mental abilities start to change as they age, and allowing them to be independent as long as possible. That's what we're hoping for. It's about keeping them in control while monitoring them. Now, as an example, I know that there was this one individual whose mother was in her mid-90s, and she still was in control. He allowed her to be in control. But what he did was every month when he visited her, they had an agreement that he checked her checking account to make sure everything was being done the way it was supposed to and there were no hitches. But again, he allowed her to stay in control of her daily task. So that's just one example. And then you can always offer to help, but allow them to make that decision as to what help they need. So you can always ask, how can I help? Instead of stating, if you change that light bulb, you might fall. You don't need to go down that path, but think about what needs to happen as a senior and active adult. As they age, they still want to be in control. And I think that's very important for everyone to recognize. But again, be on the sidelines to offer any help that they need or they request. The second one, of course, is declining health. Now, declining health means to them, seniors and active adults, the inability to do the things they love while knowing they still have their independence. If they can't do those things they love, they know that they are starting to lose their independence. And a lot of it has to do with their daily tasks, especially if they live at home as a couple. They can work together to maintain those daily tasks. If it's one individual, and in most cases, it's always the female that lives alone, it becomes hard to not only maintain their daily task, but to maintain the home. And they're afraid to tell a loved one that they feel like their health is diminishing, because fear of losing that independence or their home is a tough go for them. So understand that 91% of seniors who have at least one chronic condition. So understand that 91% of all the seniors and active adults, mostly seniors, have one chronic condition. It's natural, it's life, we age, and 65% of the aging adults rely on family for help, while 30% used paid assistance. You always want to engage in dialogue about being proactive as opposed to being reactive. And one thing that I always share is that, and most of them are reluctant to make that move to an independent assisted community. And some of the excuses they give is that, I don't have enough money, I don't know anybody, nobody cooks like I do, but those are all fallacies. And what I want to share with you is why I do what I do as a certified senior housing professional is help seniors overcome that fear of making that move. When their health is declining, it's up to them to make that decision and not have their family make that decision. And if they move into an independent or assisted community, they always need to know that they'll get nutritious meals. They're going to be surrounded by people of their own age group, which is good for their social interaction. It's good for their wanting to still be alive and be a participant, to have that purpose in life. And also, it's good to know that they have security, that if anything happens, they push a button and they got people there attending to them in quick fashion. And they have exercises, activities, the list goes on. And the other thing is if they need to go out, go shopping, go to the doctor's office, those communities are geared to take that resident to those appointments and or shopping. So when they're at home, it's very difficult. But again, you need to have or engage in that dialogue with them that there's a bright side to this. So another one that is a concern of seniors, and this is the third one, it's running out of money. And they worry about what will happen to them if they make that move into an independent or assisted community and they run out of money. Now, keep in mind, most of these communities will ask for a lot of information up front, financial, etc. And a good majority of the people that move into need to sell their house. So that's one big piece of equity that they have that will help them. And I understand that they know that people, seniors and active adults, are living longer. And there is that chance that they might run out of money. But keep in mind, if you go back and look at some of my other podcasts about senior living affordability, there's a litany of items that are there that trigger you to understand that there's different ways that we can locate money and make it last for us. And also keep in mind that I have access within my network of people who will help you do estate planning, financial investments, etc. So keep that in mind as well. But go back and review some of the podcasts that I've had, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. And I always remember this one story, particularly here in Central Florida. And it was about 2-3 years ago, before the pandemic, and they had mentioned at the time that if you had $1 million and you lived in a community, independent, assisted, or a memory care community in Central Florida, that money invested wisely would last up to 28 years. So you could live in one of those communities for up to 28 years before you ran out of money. Now, on the flip side of that, if you live down in the southeastern part of the state of Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, that same amount of money, because of the cost of the communities, monthly cost of the communities down there, was only going to last you 14 to 15 years. So understand, if you have that type of money, you're going to be in pretty good shape when it comes to leaving something for your family as an inheritance. But I want you to keep that in mind. And now it's a bigger concern with the prices increasing across the board. Some of these communities, even though some are living in independent assisted memory care communities, what's happening now is that the annual increases for the cost of inflation usually went on average 3 to 7%, and now it's like 7 to 10%, and in some cases, some are increasing as high as 15%. And that's just what's happening starting and going into 2023. So I can see where it's a concern for some people that they might run out of money. So let's go to the fourth one, unable to live at home. This is where that proactive comes into play. And a senior or a couple, they need to realize that if, in the couple situation, if one of them, their health is declining, it becomes a burden for the other one who is somewhat healthy. They might experience that their health could eventually decline. And then both of them are in a similar situation. So you need to come to terms with that, especially if you're a couple, to make that move to help each other age gracefully. And if you're single, keep in mind that if you are single, that it's more difficult for one person to take care of a home, especially after a loved one, which is number 5 on the biggest fears that seniors have. But home is a place that it's safe, it holds a lot of memories. You know, all the restaurants, the stores, your churches, healthcare, friends, all of that. But keep in mind, as we know, as we age, our friends start to die. And then there's that, it's almost like a cocoon type of life where you don't have any social interaction with anybody at all, and it's not good, it's not healthy for you in that particular situation. So a lot of senior adults are in similar situations. For the children, they need to listen to their parents, but the conversations are not telling them what to do. It's about what would they think if something happened, giving them scenarios, options. What would you do if this happened? What would you do if that happened? And in my newsletter, that's what I do. I have 3 items or 3 trigger questions asking my audience for them, giving them something to think about as they age. And it's addressing their biggest fears. So again, go back to some of my podcasts. If you have the time, I've taken the time to put the podcast together, and it kind of brings everything together as to what you and how you need to make those decisions. But what I'm trying to do is provide you with a lot of information, a lot of education, a lot of options for you to make that right decision. And I'm always here, Alba and I, to help you through that process or guide you through that process. So don't ever worry about what you're going to do with all that stuff. That's the easy part. You might think it's the hard part when it comes to downsizing, liquidating. That's the easy part. The most important part are these fears that I'm sharing with you now that need to be addressed. And you don't want it to go too much farther because, again, I want you to be proactive as opposed to reactive. And the last one in this part one is the death of a loved one. You worry about losing a loved one, and then you worry about yourself. And do you have all the documents in place with an elder law attorney? I'm going to have a podcast on legal. You need to go to that to find out about wills, trust, estate planning, probate, and putting directives in place. I've seen a husband and wife passes and the other one does not know, especially if the husband was paying all the bills or the wife was paying all the bills. The opposite doesn't know what to do in case, if that ever happens, that the other loved one passes away. Those discussions need to take place while you're fluid, mind, health, everything. You need to get it addressed. Have that peace of mind that going forward, if anything happens to you, happens to your loved one, that person will be able to sustain going forward. So those are the first 5 of 10 of the top 10 biggest fears that seniors have. Let me recap them: losing independence, declining health, running out of money, unable to live at home, and death of a loved one. So if you have any questions or concerns, senior active adult, family members, daughter, son, niece, or nephew, brother or sister, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll be more than happy to answer any of the questions or concerns that you have regarding these 5 of the 10 most prominent fears that seniors have as they age. In closing, I hope you enjoyed today's Get Your Weekly Slice. If you'd like to discuss further today's topic, you can reach me via email at mike@your, Y-O-U-R, Florida, spelled out, Haven, Haven.com, or call me at 407-340-5291 to set up an appointment. I provide a free 1.5-hour in-person meeting to discuss your future plans on aging while providing you a minimum of 3 options to choose from. Don't forget to follow us and like us on Facebook and Instagram. While on my website at yourfloridahaven.com, sign up for my monthly newsletter, RSV to any of my in-person events, which are held at the Orange County Library, Smarter Senior Seminar Series events, and to view any and all of my videos and podcasts. We hope these podcasts are helpful, and if they are, please share with your friends, family, and neighbors by letting them know what we offer as certified senior housing professionals, designated real estate agents, to our seniors and active adults as they age. We're a connector. It is about keeping seniors in the know. Till next time, when you come back to get your weekly slice.
This podcast episode is sponsored by Palumbo and Bertrand, attorneys at law.